With all this talk of subpoenas and so much other distractions, not enough people are talking about this shady maneuver that could mess up the whole thing for Blake and potentially send her to jail? Welcome to Popcorn Planet. I am Andy Signore. So happy to have Omar here, the Tilted Lawyer. How are you doing, Omar?
What's up, Andy? It's good to see you.
Man, we got to meet out in Phoenix on Zach's show, and we had some fantastic conversations. Loved hanging with you, loved talking with you. And you have really been paying attention, along with Lauren and others, about this Vanzan, the Van Sham, as we call it, lawsuit, this shady legal maneuver that was called out back in April by a lot of people, but it never really was resolved. It's still not really sorted out. And the ramifications of this, I feel like, still aren't being discussed enough by the media because this could have massive ramifications. Now, let me attempt to sort of summarize where we are, and then I want to go to you and tell me if I'm wrong. But so basically, in September, Blake, I'm going through my notes, Blake filed this John Doe lawsuit in New York under a shell entity called Vanzan Inc., which had no defendant on it, used vague language. 4 days later after that, they issued a subpoena via this shell corporation to Jennifer Abel's former publicist, Stephanie Jones, and her PR firm Jones Work, seeking communications with It Ends With Us. The case and subpoena flew under the radar, didn't notify Jennifer Abel, didn't notify anybody. It was all just anonymous John Doe's. It triggered sharp criticism from Friedman, Justin's attorney, saying it was an abuse of process, that her counsel was using hidden corporate shields to evade transparency. Now, this is what yielded those text messages from Jennifer Abel and then got it into the New York Times. These, we can bury everybody. We can bury anyone. The plan to destroy Lively. These are the texts, are the crux of the retaliation campaign. But the question is, was that phone, were these texts legitimately obtained, right? And now it's under intense scrutiny now that a lot of people, sleuths of people, figured out it was subpoenaed via this John Doe anonymous lawsuit labeled to a corporation called Vanzan. Is that a fair summary of where we are at this point up to now?
That's a pretty good summary, actually. Yeah, that's pretty good.
So why is this such a problem for Blake? Why was that so shady? I guess, can we start there? What is the legal issues with what Blake actually did there? Before we talk about the bigger ramifications, everything else, can you break that down a little more deeper?
Yeah, so to the extent when they shook her down and they cornered her in that office and they demanded her cell phone and they had these security guards there and they escorted her out the building and they have her stuff, they were entitled to have whatever business communications they had on that phone. What they were not entitled to do was go into her personal accounts, obtain cloud information, steal her personal communications, that tipped them off to the fact that Friedman was potentially gearing up for a civil extortion lawsuit against them and use it for future litigation against them. That is potentially illegally obtained. That could lead to breach of fiduciary duties. There a number of other crimes. We're a long way from her potentially going to jail. I'm not sure how you get to implicate Blake Lively into going to jail on the basis of those facts just yet. But to the extent that those personal communications were illegally obtained, and I think that they know that they were, because there's no other reason to file this sham lawsuit. What they're essentially doing is trying to take illegally obtained stuff and give it color of law. Basically launder the evidence in a way that they could use in this lawsuit. And you saw them reference in Blake Lively's initial complaint and then again in her amended complaint, these communications that were obtained by this weird subpoena that is the subject of the Van Sham thing. And so they issue this subpoena that names no defendant in a breach of contract case, which is problematic because if I make a contract with you, Andy, the parties are you and me, and then other parties might be whoever might be affected. There's never a scenario where I make a contract with some invisible entity. It's either a business or some kind of agent of the business or somebody that I personally know.
It's written that way too, because obviously I would need to be alerted if I'm in the case, right? Yeah. Jennifer Abel, like that's the safety things in there to ensure that all people involved in the lawsuit are just notified, right?
Right. Well, that's the thing. The fact that there were no named defendants, they didn't have to notify anybody other than basically Abel, who, I guess she complied with the subpoena. She gave what she had. I don't know if she had the opportunity to consult with her own attorneys or not. Probably not. I think that would have been objected to like 5 ways to Sunday had it landed in the hands of any attorney. That's an easy motion to quash. So they don't notify anybody relevant to the case, and they just get this information, and now they could claim, oh yeah, we got this this evidence from this subpoena. That's the issue. And then the other overarching issue that Judge Lyman is inevitably going to have to figure out is he understands the relevance of why they're asking for what they're asking for. He compelled these communications from Vanzan because he says that it's relevant to whether or not you fraudulently obtained this evidence, point blank, and you can't argue otherwise. And then he made some other rulings, but he said that, look, they've made an argument that you fraudulently concealed something and tried to launder evidence and use it for gain in this lawsuit, and so therefore it's relevant. We're compelling it. Now, what the Baldoni parties are essentially saying, or the Wayfarer parties are now saying, or what they're tipping us off on, is they are preparing a further or future motion related to these communications, where I think that they're probably going to come after them for abusive process or some other remedy, like making those communications inadmissible at trial or something to that effect. Worst case scenario for them, for the lively parties, is going to be an abusive process cause of action, an independent cause of action. But that's what Friedman is going to have to decide. If he just lets it go and he doesn't penalize the lively parties at all for anything that's gone down, it's going to set a wild precedent in the Second Circuit about how you can maneuver in the court system to obtain evidence in these various shady ways. Oh yeah, just file a lawsuit. You don't have to name anybody. You don't have to notify anybody, and then you'll get whatever.
Right. Well, just like further celebrities, all they have to do is create a fake corporation and then start anonymously subpoenaing people for phones.
Right.
It's a huge invasion of privacy. So that's, I guess, has Friedman, I guess that's where I'm lost. Has Friedman taken that next step? Where are we currently in the case, and what needs to happen for this to be even more carefully looked at?
Well, I think that he needs to get the communications first. I don't know if he's received them yet or not. I know they've been compelled. Once he have those,
right, that was a win for Team Judge. Right, the judge did reveal, yes, you must give this information over.
Yes, there's no argument that you could withhold him. And so, yes, he's got that information. The next step is to figure out what specific communications were obtained via that subpoena. Step 2 is run an analysis of whether or not any of those were illegally obtained. How deep into her personal communications did they go, and how many hoops did they have to jump through to get to her personal stuff on a business phone? That, you know, they're arguing, well, if it was on a business phone, then we're entitled to see it because it's a business phone. That's going to be another argument. And then 3, they're going to have to figure out how to frame their next motion. Is this going to be basically an amended complaint based on abusive process, or are they just going to make this an evidentiary motion, meaning whatever communications obtained through the subpoena, they want to be made inadmissible? And so they're framing all of that right now, and where that's inevitably going to lead is a future motion. When is it going to happen? Probably within the next month or 2, I would guess.
Right, and if that motion happens and the judge agrees that this was shady, there is a version where then those texts are inadmissible, which then throws the whole retaliation case off. So I imagine this must be on Friedman's radar and Justin's team to ensure they shoot that correctly, I would imagine, yes?
Yeah, no, I think this has been on his radar for a few months now. I mean, really ever since we learned about the Van Sham thing.
Now, Lyman hasn't been very Team Justin, it seems. He's been giving Blake a lot of, where the deposition is going to happen. All this stuff keeps falling in. Are you noticing that? Even now as content creators, there's one, it just doesn't seem like he's being very friendly to anybody other than accommodating Blake. Are you seeing that too? Or do you feel like he is being fair? What is your neutral perspective on that?
I feel where you would think that he's being, skewed towards the lively side and unfair to the Friedman parties. But there has, a lot of that I think Friedman has brought upon himself through salacious PR drops that he's issued, the whole Exhibit A thing, the whole thing where he wrote a deposition basically accusing them of fraud, and that was on the docket, and it had to be removed from the docket. If you just objectively look and take those 2 things out, and you look at how he's ruled on some of the discovery stuff, he's been pretty even-handed. It's not enough to say that he is favoring one side or the other just yet. I think that he's been pretty fair. I think that the Vanzan ruling compelling that information was a big hit for the lively parties, a huge hit for the lively parties. And the whole deposition thing, I know people are up and learn, oh, this is not fair. She gets home field advantage. If I'm doing a deposition, I don't care if I got to do it at my office or I got to do it in your office. You're still going to face cross-examination. I'm still going to depose you. I don't care if I'm not sitting in my comfortable seat. Like, I'm there to do a job. And so you want home field advantage? Fine. And I think maybe from Friedman's perspectives, like, look, she's asking for these protective orders and this is gonna potentially lead to other stuff. We just need to get the deposition done. They're trying to run out the clock potentially. Just do it at your office. So now there's no more room for her to say that, hey, this is unfair. They're trying to take advantage of me. They're trying to beat up on me at their office. They're trying to put plant people in the deposition to make me uncomfortable. Said, look, let's just make you as comfortable as possible. Now you have no more excuses. Do the effing deposition.
It is almost a win for Justin, I feel like, because exactly, it's like, okay, yet another thing they're giving Blake, no excuses later that you had trouble, whereas Justin can claim, we gave her everything. What else can we still do? Yeah. So it is odd. But so final question, because they asked, could you go to jail? And you're like, it's unlikely. Is it more likely that Stephanie Jones could go to jail? And if Blake was more involved and actually pushed that stuff to happen, could there be any sort of criminal facing
they really gotta flesh out those facts, because to the extent that this was a directive of Stephanie Jones to get this stuff, then she would be the one directly implicated, including whoever were her agents potentially that knew they were doing criminal stuff. How do they tie that into Lively, that they were acting under Lively's direction? That would implicate Lively, but I don't see that connection yet. All I know is the theory is they shared those communications with Lively either at her direction or voluntarily, and I don't know which is which. It's not impossible that she's going to go to jail, but if there is a fact pattern that suggests that Lively ordered her to do these illegal theft of personal messages on Jones or Abel's phone, then potentially she could face criminal scrutiny through agency theory, I guess, potentially. But it's far-fetched, you know.
It is far-fetched.
I don't think she's going to be the one under the fire for this one.
Well, I appreciate you guys can check out Omar over the Tilted Lawyer. A final question: like, where do you feel like the sides stand right now? Justin obviously had his case dismissed. He's waiting. Yeah. Where do you put your points? Where are you betting on the outcome currently as we face things right now?
Well, if they gut the retaliation smear campaign evidence and it's only about sexual harassment, then Baldoni is in prime pole position going forward for this thing, because she's going to get obliterated on her sexual harassment claims. If it's not, and I still think that Baldoni at trial has the advantage, because the jury doesn't care about, whether or not they're going to be able to litigate a cross-exam that's now been dismissed with prejudice, whatever. What is the sexual harassment claims? And then they're going to go through them point by point and see how ridiculous this is. I think most people, on average, if you just poll people that have followed this case, are of the opinion that the sexual harassment claims are frivolous. And they're going to have, they have an uphill battle to fight at trial, convincing a jury that her complaints were reasonable or actionable. And so I really think, in spite of everything that's going on, that Baldoni, his cross complaint being dismissed notwithstanding, I think that he's in pole position going forward in this litigation. There's nothing left. There's no more screwing around. We're doing trial March of 26. Let's do it.
Well said. It's crazy to me, because she keeps trying to smear campaigns, retaliation. The more and more we uncover, the more she's doing everything she's accusing him of. It's just massive hypocrisy that somehow Justin's worse off. I don't know what Justin's done, but do you notice? I mean, it seems like even us getting me subpoenaed, TMZ knowing before me. Who else would have told them? It makes no sense. How is that not a smear campaign? Do you think it's pretty hypocritical of her to keep trying to play this victim of, we're in the press and all this, when it's clear her side is obviously playing the press? I mean, putting a CRD in the New York Times, all of this was more of a PR suit. Do CRDs traditionally have that kind of text message evidence and so on?
No, they don't. They got bare bones. They're pretty bare bones usually, but I can tell you this, that I think that what everybody is feeling is that I think that our intelligence is insulted a little bit. She's claiming to be the victim, and then she's going after all of these small and large content creators that have nothing to do with this case whatsoever, in an attempt to basically chill your free speech and right to report on this thing as an independent journalist. if that's not a smear campaign or bullying tactic, then I don't know what else to call it, because there's nothing relevant that she's asking for that I've seen from any actual subpoena that is going to lead to relevant evidence in any of her causes of action. And so, yeah, it's hypocritical and it's insulting to our intelligence for her to sit there and call herself the victim and proceed in the manner that she's been.
Well said. You know, I could listen to you like so many others for hours. Thank you, Omar. That amazing voice of yours. Go check out The Tilted Lawyer over on YouTube. The Tilted Lawyer. Please hit subscribe. Head on over there like this. Bam. Always a pleasure, sir. Please come back. Love talking to you guys. Make sure you subscribe here and there by hitting the button and then the bell. When you get that bell, hit all. And then when you get those notifications, smash the thumbs up and leave a comment down below. What do you think down below? Do you agree with Omar? Are you getting worried? You feeling confident? Let us know your thoughts down below. We'll be back with more soon here on Popcorn Planet.